Now we have Justina from the Berlin Social Science Center and Magdeburg University. Yes. Please.
Thank you. Yes, welcome everybody. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm not going to present so much statistical data, so that will be a little different. I am a critical sociologist working on aging, age discrimination, ageism, and recently also since 2020 approximately on the role of AI in all this. So I will show you some work that we're doing in an ongoing research project. Okay, so my few talking points today, the questions I would like to ask is, can AI contribute to longevity? How do AI systems impact social inequalities, and how does ageism manifest in those AI systems? And I'm not claiming here to be able to answer all those questions, but maybe give you some snippets from the research and also maybe some conceptual ideas to tackle those problems. So AI and longevity, and this I'm happy that we already had actually this discussion, and I thought it's actually in the context of the conference also really relevant. We've seen all those headlines already. Startups collecting about $3 billion, and major tech companies actually or the tech bros, as we sometimes call them, Jeff Bezos or Peter Thiel, really in large numbers investing in this area of cellular rejuvenation and basically longevity research and medicine. So what is this longevity research? So basically, I'm going to also very quickly just, as I said, this is just one point. Use, for example, deep aging clocks. These are like models to analyze blood biomarkers, but also AI is helpful in the longevity medicine for drug discovery, which we also had actually seen some. I'm gonna actually skip this go more fast here. Also personalized and precision medicines and also diagnostics. So these are all the aspects we can use AI in the longevity research. On the other hand, what is the promise? Here is the promise to revolutionize. So AI should actually revolutionize longevity medicine. AGI here, so artificial general intelligence, could actually be taught to maximize global longevity and human lifespan. And also other citations pointing to personalize to those metrics, for example, for personalized guidance to live longer and healthier, but also like even aspects of actually reversing aging. So the promises are definitely huge. However, AI is also related to, and we also had this in the previous presenter, AI and inequality. So we've been these are a few of the titles that are mostly cited in the critical AI research on the way AI can or will contribute to inequalities. I think automating inequality was one of the most present. And so what is this relation? Because I was really interested in what is this relation, what are those mechanisms? And I point to some of those, some of the research being done here. So AI has a potential of discrimination. It can intensify discrimination. It can replace maybe earlier forms of discrimination. It can aggregate discrimination. It can make it easier, faster, or even harder to challenge. On the other hand, to follow up, algorithms can exacerbate social inequality. They can amplify or maybe create even completely new challenges, something we have not previously seen. There's also some authors pointing to that it can actually move us towards more equality because certain aspects of human bias will be then removed from, for example, HR decisions. So there's one more kind of a more catastrophic vision is that actually AI might be actually a threat to the continued human existence. And there are also these discussions, and they are not exactly on the margin of all those other discussions. So I put all those in different scenarios, 5 scenarios that kind of boil down to how we can look at it. So more equality, so this is techno-optimistic scenario, reduction of inequality due to, for example, reduction of human bias. Business as usual, so reproduction of basically inequalities, so we'll see the same levels of inequalities. More inequality is this aggravation and intensification, especially like, for example, was pointed out earlier, especially in the labor market. So this seems to be one of the areas that inequalities might grow. Emergence of new types of inequalities, and this is an interesting one where we actually see groups, for example, being potential new groups being formed just due to the classification mechanisms of algorithms. For example, sad teenagers or dog owners. So there are classifications that had nothing to do with, for example, gender or income, but those groups are now visible and can potentially also be discriminated depending on different systems that we're using. And then enmeshment of those inequalities. So something difficult to discern for social scientists, maybe where we'll not see which exactly are old and which exactly are new patterns. So what we have done, so now I'm just gonna, the rest of the presentation, show you a little bit more about how actually ageism, so age discrimination, what does that mean in AI yes, in algorithmal AI. So this is based on a project that we got funded 2023. We started. It's actually funded from the Volkswagen Foundation in Germany, and we work in 4 countries. We have an interdisciplinary team. And yeah, this is my team. So I also always acknowledge that it's not my own work. This is a collaborative project. So what we work with is a concept of AI ageism. That is, maybe I'll just read it out here so that it's clear. Prejudicial social attitudes, discriminatory practices by groups, individuals, and institutions within the development and the use of AI, so on the whole continuum, which exclude, discriminate, or neglect interest, experiences, and needs of older populations, and have or might have actually disparate impact on inequality. And how can we actually observe that? Because that was, for us, when we started the project, this was really terra incognita. We really did not know what was still happening. I think now we have 3 years into the project, we have more knowledge, and we can assess better. But in the end, there are 5 kind of ways we can investigate this. So age biases incorporated into algorithm and digital data sets. So this is a technical level. We have age stereotypes and prejudices and ideologies of actors working in the tech sector, which play a role. There is a category invisibility or stereotypical representation of age and older age in the discourses around AI and the policies also. Discriminatory effects and the exclusion as users. And within the project, we have actually worked, because of the certain timing, we also detected a 6th type of ageism, that is a generative ageism. And I will show work that we do in 4 of those categories, so I will not discuss all of them. So in terms of the first one, age bias in algorithms and data sets, age bias is just maybe to make also this clear. This emergence of the bias can be data, training data, but also algorithm, but also labeling and annotation processes, product design, or policy decisions. So there's several layers to how bias can occur, and there's also large interest from the computer science in researching ages, in researching bias, but age, as you see, is not on top of the agenda. So we only had, for example, about 100. Now it has increased. I think the data is from the beginning of the year. So what we did in our project, we made a small simulation of a credit scoring algorithm, and what we saw here was actually we tried to look for both the effects of age and gender. And what we saw here is the adverse impact of old age, which increases almost by 28% when the middle age is defined as between 40 and 59 instead of 30 and 49. So this is basically just points to two important things. First, that it shows the bias from historical data, so the loan histories. On the other hand, what is maybe something we can still work on more than the loan history is the model design, so arbitrariness of age categories. So the way we kind of only actually define the age categories made an impact on the outcome. So made an impact, so more people were dropping into actually the not credit. So we're landing in a group that were not receiving a credit. The third level, so this is a policy analysis. So we looked at how age and age discrimination, or age groups are being discussed in different policies around AI. So we identified several policies on the national level, but also international documents. We analyzed, for example, EU AI Act and Council of Europe framework. Well, maybe you can see some of those titles. In general, we analyzed about 17 documents. We're looking at the way different age groups are being portrayed in those documents. So what we saw is young people as the future of AI. So this starts already with children, for example, in the UK documents, children allowing to explore and be amazed by the potential of AI, to have a growing and literate AI workforce. Also, digital skills at an early age are important. The second is that actually top AI talents are being identified as those people who are at the PhD and master level, so still very young people. So actually, there is not really mentioning of older or aging population as kind of a resource or as a talent in the AI ecosystem. And also young people being portrayed as digital natives. That is sometimes also present. On the other hand, we looked at older persons. So how were they portrayed in those documents? And there is to say that there is not so much data. So older persons or aging was not mentioned a lot in the data, but the ones that were dated was mostly very deficient orientation. So for example, older people, they lack learning opportunities, so they need to be kind of included. They lack also digital skills. So this is the way, and last but not least, also there's a very strong labor market orientation of those documents. So especially the national documents are oriented actually for the labor market, which means once you're out of the labor market, these policies, they not even envision you as a potential contributor or a benefiter from those AI technologies. The fourth dimension means actually when we stop looking at the discourses, we stop looking at the bias on the model level, and we actually look at what is happening on the ground. So what happens to people? And this is one case from 2022, and this was very long time the only case I could show when I was talking to public. What are actually the effects of those algorithms? I mean, how are actually people affected? So this was one case in 2021 when a person was denied an online payment in Germany, and it was said that basically it's because of age and gender, when she kind of claimed an answer to why she was denied this online payment. However, move fast forward to 2026, we have much more data. I mean, it's still not ideal, but there is some data. So we have, with colleagues from also Canada and US, we looked at the several repositories of different AI incidents from, for example, AI incidents database and OECD. What we could identify, we were looking for incidents, obviously affecting older persons. We could identify about 80 incidents from 25 countries and 20% of those in Europe. We used some available taxonomies to code this, but maybe this is just more of a technical issue. And what we see, so we identified different types of those algorithmic harms. And what you see is the biggest actually type of harm is actually, or types of harm that is happening to older person is the financial loss. So there are different scams and fraud systems that actually affect largely older persons. When we talk about, for example, I mean, this translates into, for example, diminished health and well-being, interpersonal kind of type of harms, but also tech-facilitated violence. So this taxonomy actually comes from a Shelby. This is one of the taxonomies we use, and we try to map our results on these taxonomies. What you see, these are, for example, these are examples of those types of harms where some AI-generated deepfakes, they target, for example, in this case, Polish seniors, using a politician's image. On the other hand, basically, voice-generated messages were sent to older persons and trying to scam them, and actually very successfully. So people lose money. So basically, about 50% of those incidents could be related to ageism, could be associated with ageism. They are intentional or unintentional, depending on the design. I mean, there is a large debate about how much bias is intentional, but maybe I'll skip the debate here. But we also saw harms that are such harms as death or misrepresentation and a loss of coverage in terms of insurance, for example. And we looked at different types of AI use cases. But this was, maybe the importance just here is this really the first time that we could actually quantify some of these effects and look into some statistical data. And the generative ages, this is the last kind of a type of ages that we can associate with AI, and this is actually growing, a very now growing type of, a lot of research, but also we see really these ages being embedded in the large language models. So what we did, we analyzed actually, we generated about 1,500 images across different models. This was done in 2024 to 25. Looking at different activities and also looking at the prompting was either an older person or a person without any age, without any indication of age. What you see is, I'll also have 2 more slides with those so that you can maybe have a look at yourself what are the differences of different social activities and the portraying of older persons. And then what we did also a visual analysis and feature extractor using visual language models. So we actually looked at those images with another model to try to get some of the statistical also in this case data. So what we see is, for example, in persons were much more heterogeneous in terms of age, whereas older persons, the prompts that were for older persons, you see this homogeneity, which actually refers to very often to the stereotypes that older persons are somehow one magical group that is very homogeneous. So we can see actually reproduction of this type of stereotype within this data. Secondly, we also see more actually in the group of older persons, actually more male images being generated, which again, when we know the statistics for longevity, this is quite the opposite. By persons with no indication, this was more or less similar. Then talking about the race, the same thing occurs, this kind of a homogenization. There were mostly white people being generated, or images of white people being generated, whether in non-age, this was much more heterogeneous. And last but not least, we looked also at brightness, so how the images are being portrayed. And you could also see, like just qualitatively looking at those images, older people were portrayed as kind of more sad, lonely. Usually the setting was also different. And what actually the brightness shows is that the images with older persons were much more, were basically darker. So this final reflections, maybe AI and ageism is really deeply intertwined through discourses, through data, through policies, and we could actually give you some impressions maybe of this from the project. Also, similarly, the longevity medicine, which what I showed at the beginning, it actually also operates on this ageism premise because a lot of this startups and the research is being supported by the idea of aging is wrong, aging is actually deadly, and a very negative image of aging, and trying to combat aging. And further research is needed in terms, especially we do not have any really very good quantitative data yet. So I'm hoping to maybe, if you know any good data sets that we could use. And maybe just few mitigation strategies, policy recommendations. Of course, there's a lot of technical work that can be done, better training data, better, auditing the models, but actually non-technical mitigation strategies, I would actually also, we promote also those, such as advocacy or critical AI literacy, but also systematic data collection for policy making, because at the moment the data is really scattered, it is fragmented, it is not complete. And also, for example, training for AI developers. And and I'm really on time. My last policy recommendation is, we have an upcoming UN Convention for the Rights of Older Persons. So our recommendation is to actually include protection from algorithmic harms and discrimination into this UN Convention. And I hope we'll be successful there, because the work has been started. And this would mean, first of all, that we have a UN Convention, which is already a huge step towards maybe securing better rights for older persons, but also that we can actually have a first convention that will be tackling also the algorithmic inequalities. And thank you.
So thank you, Justina.